Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be going through the last of the wolf commissions, which was the set of 3, and this is the white wolf, so stay tuned. So as usual, I'm starting off with that resin cast, and it is a resin cast of a sculpture that I have moulded in silicone and cast in resin. So I'm looking at updating my wolf parts again very shortly. I'll have to get some commissions out of the way first before I can do that, but for now the mold is still good. So the commissioner wanted a white wolf with ice blue eyes and some black markings around the eyes and the nose and the mouth like I usually do. So I'm going ahead and painting around the eyes, nose and mouth with black chromacryl acrylic paint. And for those that don't know, chromacryl is a water-based paint. So once that paint is dry, I can then go in and paint the eyeballs. So I'm just mixing the colours on the eyeballs. I didn't really see the need to mix it on any paper or a paint pot or anything. So I just mixed up the paint and it gives it a nice sky blue colour. Which is what the customer wanted. And I really like this colour, so maybe I'll try and find some paint that is actually this colour. And then once that paint is dry, I can then go in and use a dry brush technique to fill in the pupils. And what you want to do is feather out the edges of the pupil to make it a little bit more realistic, and it's not so stark and such a sharp line. And if your line is a bit too sharp, you can use a wet paintbrush and just feather out the edges a little bit more, and that way it'll just take the paint off the surface and you can work it around like that. So then I'm just going to go around and touch up any loose ends with that black paint. And you don't need to do too neat with it because you're going to be furring all the pieces anyway, so all the bits that you want to be painted will show through and the fur will cover the rest. So there's no point spending a lot of time on painting all things pretty when you're just going to cover it with fur anyway. And using that same chromacryl paint, I'm just filling in all of the pores. This is just one at the moment, but I end up painting all 4 of the pores before attaching anything. Moving on to the fur, and this fur, it's my stock standard fur. I use it in a lot of my dolls. It is a nice high quality white faux fur. The pile isn't too long and too short and has a nice thick undercoat. So right now you can see I have drawn out all the patterns, and then I will cut them out, cutting the backing only and not the pile. So you want to insert your scissors into the fur side and cut that way, and I'd recommend using smaller scissors because they're a lot easier to control rather than large scissors which are more for paper cutting, or even the large fabric scissors which are more for cutting straight fabric and not getting in between bits and pieces. So once I've cut out all of the pieces, I will then pin it together, fur side together that is, and then I will sew it through a sewing machine. And I prefer using a sewing machine because it's a lot stronger than hand sewing, and I say that in a lot of my videos, but yeah, I can explain why I like the sewing machine better than hand sewing. But you still will need to hand sew some things because you need to leave some ends open in order to flip the body inside out or the right way round. So I leave the back end open and the legs areas as well, just so it's a little bit easier to push through. Otherwise, if you sew the legs up, it's a very difficult task to get that leg to flip around. Okay, so once I've turned it inside out, I will then make an armature out of wire, but I am slowly transitioning to using ball and socket armatures, which are plastic. But if you're interested in a video with that, let me know in the comments and I'll try and do a video on something. So I'm not too sure what to add, so maybe ask some questions if you're interested, and I'll try and answer them. Anyway, so I've made the armature out of wire and inserted it into the body, and then attached the resin pieces to the wire armature once the body is inside. And then I'll go around and sew up the legs and the bottom end using lattice stitch, and then I'll go ahead and attach that fur to the resin piece using a tacky fabric glue. And this glue was found at Riot Art and Craft here in Australia, which I can't seem to find any that stock it anymore, so I've moved to a glue from Spotlight. So just giving you a little look-see of what it looks like after I've just furred it and haven't had any shading. And I know people get a little bit grumpy about me not showing how I fur the face, but it's a technique that I've developed for many years, so I've refined it to how I like it. And I highly encourage others to try their own technique and come up with something that works for them. And in that way there's a sense of accomplishment and understanding of other artists as well. So here's what we have after I've added the shading and a couple of other little details to give it a more realistic look. And that is it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any requests, you can leave it in the comments down below. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!